Do you really need this one thing? Are you wasting thousands of dollars in just a year? Is this one thing really going to protect you from possibly losing everything? That's exactly what we're talking about in today's video. So let's get started. Hello, my name is Chris Green, president and owner of the Flood Insurance Guru. Today we're talking about, do you really need flood insurance? Are you wasting thousands of dollars? I mean, insurance is a scam, right? We hear people say it every day. My insurance company didn't give me what I paid for. Why am I wasting my money? My property's never going to flood. So do I really need it? Can you imagine living this close to water and not needing flood insurance? Sounds like a no-brainer, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But you see thousands of people around the world every day bypass purchasing flood insurance, living closer to the water than I'm standing right now because they think their property never floods. But here's the catch. Even if your bank's not requiring flood insurance, you're still at risk. In fact, 30% of flood claims come out of areas where flood insurance is not required. During Hurricane Harvey, 85% of people that had flood damage were not required to purchase flood insurance. And this is where people get in trouble every day, is they mix up, do they really need flood insurance with what their bank's requiring? They're confusing flood zone requirements with flood risk. You see, right here, I'm standing in what would be called a low risk property. I mean, I'm this close to water. Clearly I'm at risk, right? And that's the challenging part with flood zones. Because this property has been built up, people think there's no risk. But clearly there's a risk, as you can see right here behind me. So that's why it's so important to understand that yes, you do need flood insurance. But what exactly do you need? Well, let's talk about that. First of all, let's talk about what coverages do you need? What pricing should you be looking at? And then what steps do you need to take to make sure your property protected? So let's talk about coverages. When it comes to coverages, so there's no bank involved if you just need it and they're not requiring it, so you're probably not sure where to start. You want to start maybe by consulting with an insurance agent to determine what the replacement cost of your property is. This is the actual cost to replace your building if it was to be totally destroyed. Not the market value, but the replacement cost. That's important compared to actual cash value because come claims time, you're going to get a lot more money with replacement costs. So that's the building coverage. You want to make sure to get the replacement cost over that when it comes to picking your building coverage. Same thing with your personal belongings and contents coverage. You want to make sure that you can get replacement costs on your contents. If you have a TV destroyed, you want the money it would cost to replace it today, not what you paid for 10 years ago. This is why people are so disappointed and come claims time. They don't understand exactly what they're purchasing because many times they didn't have somebody explain it to them correctly. So that's building coverage and contents coverage. Then there's additional living expenses. When it comes to additional living expenses, this is something that would maybe pay for you a temporary place for you to live while your house is being repaired after being flooded. Quick story. We had a customer this happened to in Nebraska. We helped her with a flood insurance policy, moving from the federal government to a private policy. About a month later, she suffered a major flood in Nebraska, just like her neighbors did. She was the only one on her street that had a hotel paid for 6 months because she had additional living expenses on that private policy, but the federal government didn't offer this. Imagine a financial burden that was removed from her that her neighbors did not have. That's very important when it comes to coverages. Now let's talk about what pricing do you need to review. Now remember, when you're talking about pricing, we could be talking about something different with the National Flood Insurance Program versus private. And on national average on residential properties, the national average on pricing we see is around $1,000 a year. Does that mean you're not going to get a quote for $3,000? No, that just means this is the national average. On the commercial side, like you see right here with this commercial building, we see an average of about $2,500 to $3,000. So that might be a good starting point when you're trying to figure out, hey, what guardrails do I need to be in here when it comes to pricing? Now, what steps do you need to take to purchase flood insurance? Well, the first step is, we've talked about coverages and things like this, is you need to reach out to an insurance agent to help you with this. And there's a couple things you need to do when you do this. You want to ask them some questions to understand, do they meet your needs? Are they providing you the right solutions? And what we mean by this is they should be providing you an option through the National Flood Insurance Program, and they should be providing you with at least 3 different private flood insurance options. Remember, no matter where you go, the National Flood Insurance Program rates should be the same if you're picking the same coverages. However, on the private side, it could be 9 day. With having more than 20 different private flood insurance options here at the Flood Insurance Guru, we see it every day. You may have a $4,000 rate, you may have a $400 rate. What is the differences in these? Is there something you need to know there? These are questions you need to ask as you go through this process with the insurance agent. So, do you need flood insurance? Absolutely. What coverages do you need? What pricing do you need to know about? And how do you need to start that process of purchasing flood insurance? That's all the things we discussed here in this video. Now, if you want a deeper look at, hey, what are my flood insurance options? Click here in the corner where we discuss the difference between the National Flood Insurance Program and private flood insurance. You can also download our free ebook in this video on things to know before purchasing flood insurance. My name is Chris Green, president and owner of the Flood Insurance Guru, and I want to say thank you for tuning in today's video. video on Do You Need Flood Insurance?